to complete a triple jungle ban situation, and it is actually, who knows? Could be anything. It is Renekton for Revenge in top lane, or Insanity in mid lane, as we've already seen today.
Yeah, obviously possible. And with 3 junglers already banned out, you're kind of thinking, all right, well, Nidalee probably coming in here for Xerxes. It is a pick that he can play. It is a pick that pairs so incredibly well there with Renekton up the top side. I think Tristana as an early pick is pretty much as good as you can do these days, because it is a flex, because it's incredibly good in multiple roles, gives you a lot of draft flexibility here, like it a lot. Grabbing that Rel as well here. And this is actually, I want to say, the first 2 picks that they had yesterday against Dignitas, and they did end up actually flexing the Tristana down to bot lane. So will be interesting to see if there is a repeat there. But Immortal's not actually going to be going for the first rotation Nidalee. They will be going Thresh and Syndra. So it does open up the possibility to either take away or ban out the Nidalee. Lilia is also another possibility that Blabber really likes.
Yeah, Lilia also, both these junglers really like that champion. I think she's very powerful, especially given that these junglers get banned out so often. Lilia is often the best jungler left available, and it is going to be picked up here by Blabber. So Immortals, I think, very clearly just drafting things they're comfortable with, but it could hurt them here in Phase 2, as Cloud9 have drafted extremely strong champions in Phase 1.
Yeah, and I expect them to target Xerxes more with the bans, right? You know, why not ban Nidalee out in this second phase here? You know, push him down even further, perhaps put him on something he is a little bit less comfortable on. You know, Xerxes has mostly just played 2 champs this split. He has 7 games of Hecarim, 6 games of Lilia, and then 1 of a couple champions beyond that, right? So he has mostly been on those big 2. The Nidalee will be banned out, no surprise there. And the question is just for me, does Cloud9 continue to ban in that role, or will they tip their hand a little bit and, you know, ban out some marksmen or something like that?
See if maybe the Kayn gets banned. It's like one of Xerxes' more recent champions, but again, lots of options here in general. Naga going to get banned out there for IMT, trying to help Revenge in the top lane by the looks of things there, as that is one of the more common counter picks, or one of the common picks, I guess, not really a counter pick.
Yeah, more like an answer, yeah. It's one of those picks that you can survive on, but you're not necessarily going to dominate or anything. It's mostly, I think, then about the jungle matchup. If it's a fully isolated 1v1, Gnar does great into Renekton, but that's almost never how pro play goes. And because Renekton has such good gank assist, you always have to be worried about getting burst down to Megadar. So nice call from you. The Kayn gonna get banned out, so pinching the jungle pool even more. We have to see where Xerxes wants to take us. Of course, there's still stuff like Skarner available. He even played a Pantheon game. You know, that would be the last pick that he has that's actually not been banned out. So it's either got to be, you know, the Pantheon or something new, right? Like there is Skarner, there is Elise, there is even things that are like more out of left field, like Nocturne. I was going to say Gragas, but that's been banned. Of course, there's lots of different picks you can go to, but just not that many left in the current pro meta that you see regularly.
I was going to jokingly say, because Nara's like kind of the answer pick to Renekton, that like, does that mean Nara's the new Gragas, and then Gragas also gets banned away? But I think Sion is, I guess, the next in line after Gragas and Nara get banned, so clearly giving Fudge the weak side matchup here and just saying, good luck against Renekton, I'm sure you'll be fine. Sion pretty good into most matchups, tends to not lose. And if you do lose, you lose gracefully, which is very important.
I guess there's actually a lot of options. You know, he could go J4, he could even go, you know, towards a Graves or something like that. So that'll be pretty interesting to see what he wants to go for. It's actually, wow, it is actually going to be Nocturne locked in here. Thought it was going to be a troll hover, to be honest with you. I'm actually pretty excited to see this come through. I've been playing a ton of Stridebreaker, Sterix, Tank, Nocturne. I think it's actually really insane. I think it's actually much better than the lethality builds that are more common. I don't think that you really do need the additional burst, because you have so many slows, so many ways to actually stick onto your opponents there, that it feels a lot easier to teamfight on, and you still have enough damage that you can actually kill people off in a 1v1. Draven on top, so Immortals getting really spicy here. And it's going to be last pick Orianna. So this is basically what we saw Cloud9 play yesterday, where they did do, you know, the Orianna Rel alongside the Tristana. There are some differences in the draft, but this is going to be pretty cool to actually track. I really do think that Nocturne is pretty underrated these days, especially with a lot of junglers already banned out. Could be fairly viable. But that being said, there's not the most amazing targets, and there is a lot of CC over on the other team. You know, Tristana has the ability to potentially disengage. Of course, you have your spell shield to try to get a buster shot or something like that, but you still have the ability to jump away. And, you know, Rel plus Sion is a lot of CC, so you're going to have to be pretty careful there. But it's an interesting draft. It's one that feels like it's pulling Xerxes' attention to opposite lanes. You know, he has Draven. You want to play your Draven lane and snowball him, but you have Renekton, so you also want to be up there playing to your Renekton. And I think that makes it a pretty difficult job for Xerxes, who's on a jungler that's not exactly gank heavy. You know, in most of your Nocturne games, you want to power farm and ult every time it's up. And that's generally what you're doing. You can cover lanes, and if someone over pushes, you can gank them. But your pre-6 ganks are pretty terrible unless someone really is overextending. You can get behind them with a fear. So we'll see how it's going to pan out, because it feels like as far as early options, Cloud9 has a lot more of them. I do think you can kind of move around the map, more effectively as the Lilia, and I do think that you're more threatening in the early levels.
I feel like you can tell which team is currently playing for first and only first. Because this is like a very serious draft, right? Like extremely strong champions, very stable, very solid, just not really wanting anything to go wrong, trusting in the individual skill of their players and their team, which they should, to be fair. I guess the only thing of note to me looking down as the jungle keystones is actually on Conqueror, which doesn't really surprise me, but Predator for Blabber is pretty cool there on Lilia.
Yeah, he did it, I want to say it was yesterday as well, or at least someone did it yesterday. I think it was him. Of course, Dark Harvest is much more common, but yeah, it's kind of just a trade-off. You're losing a little bit of damage, you get a bit more utility, you know, maybe you can pull off some sort of a lane gank with it, which is kind of cool, and I do think that we'll have to track and see how effective he can be with this, with the Conqueror. I do think it is going to be one of kind of the more bruisery builds. I'm expecting that. I don't know if it's going to be exactly what I was talking about with, Stridebreaker Sterix, but generally speaking, when you see full lethality, they go electrocute, and you're just looking for the straight up one shot. So I'm not thinking it's going to be that with Conqueror.
All right, as you can see, the people have spoken. Azael Mystic there on Twitter saying he wants more games of League of Legends, which, hard to blame you. Pretty good stuff there. As Xerxes, not going to get in trouble just yet, but he's solo starting the red buff, and Rel and Tristana are currently in his jungle. Blabber also is stealing his stuff. So now Vulcan going to start things off and force the flash, and the red buff's gone! Oh, no!
I mean, where's the team? Like, seriously.
Not there.
I would be question mark pinging my bot lane so hard right now. Oh, no. I would be tilted off the face of the planet. You see them invade. You see it ward over. And the bot lane never moved. They just stayed bot lane. And it's like, okay, well, you get to control the minion wave, but what are you even doing with that? Are they even going to freeze it? Or are you just going to push it to your opponents and allow them to get that farm anyway? So, now Blabber just goes cross map. He can meet him at the blue buff, and you have a no flash Nocturne. It's so dangerous to actually even walk up to this, because you could just get chased down by Lilia potentially, and Perkz is even roaming. Like,
yeah, Perkz, insta-push and roam tier. Revenge also going to join, so Blabber going to, unfortunately for him, have to pull off the buff. So at least this time a team comes, Azael, but I think the time for you to be tilted off the face of the planet is gone. I think you vicariously are after that play started.
I'm in outer space at this point. There's no one tilting me. But at the very least, the Renekton came down. Blabber, though, looking for a re-invade as we watch this bot lane. A hook does land, but not going to be too much. We'll see if Blabber can get there. If he can get in and smite this away, that would be pretty devastating. Xerxes, of course, is still level 2, because even though he's done, a couple camps now, unless you've done Gromp or Krugs, you can't actually get, that level 3, so.
Is this the great bait from Fudge? Blabber's up here. This is really clever. Revenge with a great flash past the Q, though, but Blabber's just going to spin around. Revenge has got no flash. Blabber has his, and surely it's first blood. Indeed it is to Blabber.
Nicely done by Blabber. It's a jungle advantage that they earned him with those invades. Bot lane invades with him on the bot side. His mid laner invades with him on the top side. So much help given to him. Puts him way ahead of the Nocturne. Nocturne can't really do anything except try to respawn on the other side of the map. So smart to counter jungle here from Xerxes. Revenge with a clever flash to dodge out on the Q, but then Fudge just flashes away from him and he has no ability to actually close the gap. So couldn't really respond with the kill. Xerxes finally should be able to get level 3 here for himself, and hopefully they will help him grab this. But again, he's still not level 3 because he didn't. One of his 3 camps was not actually Krugs or Gromp, so he's still stuck at level 2 at 4 minutes, and this is just a horrible start.
Yeah, Destiny having to stay around here. Insanity also getting some vision down as Perkz TP's back in, and Xerxes will indeed take that Scuttle Crab away. So Blabber's invasions finally stop for now, and Xerxes does hit level 3, but a very rough start here that has been righted somewhat for IMT, but damage feels like it's already done to IMT's jungle here.
They have a big advantage, right? And now the question is just, can Cloud9 continue to expand that advantage? That's what you're really looking at this point. Blabber is the one with the gold lead. The bot lane is slightly behind. You know, it's probably going to be a bit over a wave here, depending on how well they farm this out. So yes, the Draven lane is a little bit ahead with that Thresh, and we'll see if they can kind of push that edge, because Immortals isn't too far behind by any means. It is just a couple hundred gold. You know, they have a lot of additional farm up here on Revenge. They have a bit of additional farm down in that bottom lane, so they've got to see if they can extend advantages elsewhere.
All right, well, Fudge busy farming up, still behind Revenge in the 1v1, despite getting the assist goal, but not feeling too bad there, as Perkz is going to try and poke Insanity, who TP's back in. But now going to play catch-up on farm there. Does land the stun, level 5 here as well for the Syndra. Procs phase rush as Perkz just absorbs that damage. But Perkz now going to fight back there as the Q lands through and the autos come in. Level 6, the important one here in this kind of matchup, because if you get there first, you can at least pressure your opponents here by popping your ulti to burst them down, but it doesn't feel like the race is going to be too one-sided, so I think they'll just keep trading farm back and forth as Fudge trying to do the same here, still up against Revenge.
Just continuing to try to push, trying to get those advantages here, but Fudge, you know, as he gets more levels, he will stabilize. You continue to get more bonus HP from your passive. You grab the Bramble here that he's going to be probably building towards early on, and should start to get pretty comfortable, you know, especially when you realize that the only people that are really going to likely attack you are the Nocturne or the Renekton early on, and stacking the armor is going to be incredibly effective against both of those champions.
I do like, though, that Blabber has kind of taken the Ionian Boots best jungle item one step further with the Predator, so it does have those finished up now and gets a little extra utility out of his Keystone choice. And I mean, like, no joke, these boots versus a pickaxe, pretty good, and Blabber even has a little bit extra on top of that here as Sven, perhaps the target, as Destiny is going to be looking for the hook, but Rocket Jump's going to make that a non-issue.
Yeah, we'll see if Raze can get his passive stacked up way high and cash out. You know, that's often how a lot of Draven games are really kind of decided if you're going to have a good game or a bad game, is just how much gold can you get from your passive. You know, especially at the pro level, people are so good at actually axe juggling that they get ridiculous amount of stacks. And you know, if you get a couple hundred and you cash out, you can snowball. And if you die and lose all those stacks, can end up being a pretty difficult game, because Draven is a champion that generally has to play from ahead. You have to be able to move aggressively into these team fights. You don't have a dash, you just have the speed up, and you're relying on having additional gold, the tankiness from shield bow, and these types of things often to really keep you in the mix and keep you successful and aggressive.
Doing well in the 1v1 though, but Blabber going to make it 3v2
Predator,
in just a moment. Not yet, but just going to walk in the lane instead. I think it's Vulcan going to be looking for the angle instead. They'll just push out the wave, exactly.
Yeah, he just decides, all right, we're just going to cover bot. We're going to push this out. You have push mid, so actually what they want to do is go for Dragon, I think, here. They were moving Perkz down. He gets a ward on the red, so they know that Nocturne's not in the area. Xerxes just trying to do what he can to get level 6, farming on the opposite side of the map. And I've got to say he's done a pretty good job, all things considered. You know, he got invaded by the bot lane at level 1, lost both camps bot side, had to flash away, gets invaded at his blue buff by the enemy mid laner. And he has been pretty scrappy in this game, moving around, finding camps on the opposite side of the map, trying not to be by Blabber and just trying to pick up farm, but he is in a little bit of a dicey spot here. Potentially, if he could get spotted out, there's a lot of Cloud9 members in the area, but he won't be spotted for now and has almost enough experience to get to 6. Should be about one more camp, and he'll hit that and potentially can look for some sort of a play.
You are not mistaken, everyone did hear the Silent Express, but it is Fudge actually swapping down to that bottom side. Here is Blabber and friends. They're going to look to start off this Rift Trail, but not before the jungle gets invaded, although going to give that one up pretty quickly. Xerxes still not 6, but this camp will do it. Blabber, though, did get 6 of his visit to the bottom side, so had an advantage there for a moment. However, IMT pretty late to try and contest here, but Destiny going to look for the hook and not find it. We'll see if they do want to contest, or they're just happy to give away the Herald at this point.
Looks like it's just going to be giving that away, very likely. Revenge based, and he doesn't have TP, so there's no reason to go over there, especially because you risk Draven dying and losing those stacks. So just throw an axe over the wall, see if you can get a miracle steal, but beyond that, just continue farming. Revenge going to be heading down towards that bottom side. Xerxes is continuing to farm, but he is likely going to be spotted out as he moves down towards that bottom side, because Perkz still has that pink ward in the brush over by the red buff that did spot Revenge moving down to bot lane, and will probably spot Xerxes here pretty shortly.
All right, well, brief 2v2 here in the top lane as a result of all this shuffling. Ray's still stacking things up. 194 stacks right now, not too bad. Always needs to get that kill, and only a kill to lock them all down. Of course, it needs to not die in the process as well. Very important step that sometimes people miss, mainly me. But I do like the, picking something a bit more aggressive, trying to punish the roll. Like, on farm alone, not even just the Draven passive, Raze actually straight up smashing Sven in CS, with just how they played the lane, given that it's been so isolated. So that part is going well. It's just kind of, how does the mid-game look? And as you've kind of already alluded to, a lot of that is just, how much snowball can the Draven actually get? Because if the answer is 0, I don't know if all these AD champions are going to beat this Sion, let alone the rest of Cloud9.
Yeah. I mean, Syndra isn't the best at actually killing off tanks, so that's going to be a problem, right? Because when you're playing a tank in this sort of team comp, you just stack armor and then you just rely on the flat HP that you're going to be having to actually survive against a bursty style champion like Syndra. If it's like a Cassio or something, then you maybe need a bit of Amara, but in this case, he is pretty much just chilling with the passive HP he'll get on all the items, plus his W, as well as the shield he has. Syndra is not going to win many fights where you use your ultimate on a Sion.
No. As Van continues to get aggressed on here by Raze and Destiny. Looking for some plates now, as speaking of the Sion, Revenge doing battle here. The Fudge again, kind of shaking it off. Nothing to really worry about here, as it is interesting to see the team stick around here for so long, but I guess the Cloud Dragon is not worth the attention of the teams, at least right now, and Blabber's going to spin up here to the top side and try and kill somebody, because he's got the ulti and the Rift Herald, which would be nice for the extra push. But again, Cloud9, I think this is the kind of game where they are not going to push the issue too much in the early game when things are even, because again, it is so important for their standings to not throw this game away.
And it feels like they're probably telling themselves, we kind of just win later. We don't really need to do anything, right? It's actually Immortals that need to do stuff. We're 11 minutes into the game, and we haven't seen a Nocturne ultimate. Draven doesn't have a kill. Renekton is kind of just farming it out against Sion. All things are looking pretty good for Cloud9 when you consider that. Of course, the gold is tied, and if Immortals can pick up some kills, can start making some things happen, the game can start looking good for them. But generally, how you win a lot of games as Nocturne is by attacking champions in the side lane and being able to get split push advantages, draw people to that, find these 2v1s, but they haven't really been able to make much happen there.
Yeah, and Perkz even going to get the Herald. Oh, there's Nocturne! Going in there, but the Fear Tether not enough as Perkz flashes out and also has Vulcan alongside. So a nice attempt, but Perkz just uses the flash to get out and already got the gold from that Herald.
Not too bad. You get that flash from Perkz. They'll have to see if they can actually punish him during this window now. You maybe try to attack him, you try to bring in the Thresh, try to bring in the Draven potentially here. And Draven's actually gone a very aggressive build. Going not for the shield bow here. It is actually the Kraken Slayer, which is pretty interesting. Most of the time I see a lot of Dravens, especially against some of these compositions where there's a lot of CC. It can be pretty difficult to actually position yourself and avoid engages from champions like Rell, in the follow-up from the Sion and the Orianna and whatnot. A lot of times you will just go towards the shield bow to be able to survive that initial engage and then try to go forward from there. Of course, this is greater risk, greater reward. If you can survive, if you can actually capitalize on the additional damage that you have through positioning and avoiding the engage, then great. It's going to pay off.
Yeah, I mean, Raze in Oceania was known for his teamfight positioning. Hold that thought, Lucas Perkz to get a flash on this Xerxes, paying that flash that he got forward as Destiny is not going to hit that hook. Perkz now going to self. Shockwave as Vulcan's going to dive back in and get the CC back. It's Blabber looking to spin around, puts 2 people to sleep. Swirl Seed in, Q is good, and Fudge is here for the re-engage as Blabber is just chasing down Insanity. Goes into his own, but doesn't absorb enough of the ulti, I believe, as that will be Raze cashing in Immortals. They'll take that trade.
Oh, that is a 1-for-1, but that is a value 1-for-1 as you get the cash in on your Draven, who has been stacking it up all game long. Xerxes couldn't quite actually kill off the Orianna. Now you see that gold lead down in the bottom lane, 1,500 ahead for the Draven over the Tristana. That is very, very big. Perkz getting caught out here. The Flay did come in. They land the Fear to follow up on him, but it was such a good sidestep there from Perkz to actually be able to avoid the hook coming through from Destiny. And that missing kept him alive. A really nice little juke. And then Blabber arrives. 3-man Q, 3-man sleep. But Insanity forcing out the stopwatch with his ultimate revenge on the TP flank had come through. They get the kill off of that, and the fact that went onto the Draven is absolutely huge.
Yeah, Revenge actually running the distraction technique quite well there. I think Fudge wanted to ult alongside Blabber there and continue the fight, as Blabber certainly was not getting out of that one, or didn't want to, because he felt the angle was there, but Revenge bought enough time to give Raze that kill, and look at the gold. 600 gold ahead about of the next person in second, who is on the Cloud9 side, but whose name currently escapes me. Now that Kraken Slayer is joined by some Greaves and a bit of extra crit here, so IMT are going to be the ones to walk in and take our first Drake at the old 14.5-minute mark.
It's a very late first drag, you know, and normally when you are playing kind of the earlier game comps, you want to be able to pressure your opponents with the threat of a soul. You're going to use your early power to snowball those dragons. But of course, because of how the level 1 went, because of how some of those early plays actually shook out for Immortals, they didn't really have any option to do it. And Cloud9 didn't really feel any pressure to go towards those dragons. They are comfortable just playing a slow game here. I do think that they have a pretty big advantage if you look at just a straight up 5v5 later on in the game, and that's what they want to play for. So they're going to be playing a pretty risk-averse game here, as you said, trying to make no mistake about it. They want to lock in first here. They want to avoid tiebreakers, and they would like nothing more than just to play a slow, passive game and clean it up in team fights.
All right, well, for the fans of Immortals, Team Liquid, and TSM, they will all be cheering on Raze right now, who is certainly the one set up to carry here in this mid-game with that Kraken Slayer done nice and early. Fudge getting the Chem Tank popped on Revenge for a bit of extra trade back. You can see that Sion is starting to push around Revenge a little bit more because Chem Tank just means Revenge can't really do anything other than look at the minions and try and kill them.
I just don't know how they're going to hurt Sion, which is really my big concern. You know, even the fact that Syndra, as the only magic damage, went for Verdant Barrier, which I get it. It's very effective against Lilia plus Orianna. You know, the jungler and the mid laner both deal magic damage. You want to stay safe from that. But you're playing more of the early game champion, more of that aggressive champion here. So I feel like sometimes you just need to depend on your own skills to survive and go for the more aggressive build, right? Because Orianna is okay playing this slow style where you scale it up. Syndra wants the pressure advantage. Syndra wants to be able to threaten 100-0 on these style of champions that you're playing against. So he's going to be set behind a bit from that, and we'll see if that punishes him later on.
All right, well, Rift Herald's going over to IMT, which probably means a lot more gold is going to be coming Raze's way in just a moment. There's still the first tower gold to be taken as well, as Xerxes does indeed collect the Eye of the Herald, so plenty of gold to funnel towards that Draven.
Coming through for Nocturne. So this is the build I was talking about. I'm actually really excited. I don't know if he's going to go for the exact one that I think is really good, but I honestly think Stridebreaker straight into Sterix, and then you just go full tank depending on what the game dictates. That can be anything, Force of Nature, Thornmail, whatever. Randuin's even can all be really, really good. And one of the things that's so powerful about it is being able to actually, ult immediately in, you hit them with the Q, you have the speed up from that, the Fear Tether comes through, and you have the Stridebreaker slow on them. And oftentimes, even if they flash, because of that slow that's immediately on top of them, you can actually catch back up and still land your Fear Tether. You can really make it difficult for people to escape. And with Conqueror, similar thing to kind of Lethal Tempo. It's just the stacking damage that you have. You're also a lot more tanky with this, so it's not just like one-shot someone or be one-shot. You can kind of add more value as a pseudo frontliner in a lot of the fights once you have Sterix.
Yeah, I mean, Nocturne's going to be going in first in just about every engage there is, so it does make sense to be a bit tankier, and I do like that Stridebreaker kind of acts as a easier-to-use flash, so you can actually get in range and 50 people. So I like it. Perhaps we'll see more of it. I'm excited for the potential of more Nocturne, like everybody should be. But again, IMT need to find a way to open up the game a little bit more. Not right now, again, the sky is not falling just yet. Still got the Dragons to play for. Next one's coming at a bit of 40, but it's
getting cloudy.
And then Dark and Stormy and getting a bit wobbly as Perkz and Vulcan and Sven are here to siege down the mid tower. So despite having the second Herald, Immortals don't think they're going to win the race to first tower here.
No, looks like this tower is just pretty much gone, and it will just get knocked down there. They've had the Herald for a while, but didn't end up actually dropping it. The advantage for them is that all of the gold is going to go into the pocket of Raze there. It's not going to be split up among 3 members like Cloud9's was. And they're actually continuing to push here up on that top side. They still have the Herald to potentially take mid lane tower. You can see Cloud9's vision all focused on the bot side. If you look through Immortals jungle, there's 4 or 5 wards from Cloud9 all across there. Very clearly, they want to play towards the next dragon. They want to play towards this bottom lane turret, the mid lane turret, try to pressure those and really control this area, make it so that their opponents cannot enter whatsoever. Of course, Immortals is kind of doing the same thing on the top side. It's pretty much ending up in this split map situation, but next objective that comes up is on the bottom side, which gives Cloud9 the advantage.
Yeah, good work from Perkz there, actually, just kind of killing the wave and zoning off the rest of IMT from approaching the tower, so it is only the Rift Herald charge damage, really. That does do a significant chunk to the mid lane outer, but of course not enough to kill it. And it does feel like with these recall timings, Raze does need to spend his money because all the gold he's cashed in on isn't going to do too much if he doesn't spend it. But I think that means, yeah, they give up the dragon as a result.
Yep, and it's going to be Lord Dominik's second here. So I actually really like this build. You know, it is a very efficient item. I think PD is great as a second item, but not when there's this much armor. I think that this is the only build that really makes sense. Fudge is going to be stacking an incredible amount of armor. There's already a full Zhonya's on Blabber, so he has additional armor. There's Tabbies on both of the bot laners. You know, Zven and Vulcan already have them. Vulcan's going to be stacking more armor. Perkz is likely going to build his Zhonya's. You need armor pen, just straight up. So likely goes from here into an IE. That is a very powerful 3 items as far as the damage output is concerned. Of course, it's not going to help you out with the survivability if you do get caught, but if he can survive, if he can keep hold of those axes, he is going to be a real threat.
Yeah, again, Raze known for his positioning, going to have to show that off here in this game, because he's certainly the biggest threat. In some cases, feels like the only threat Immortals really have, at least this stage of the game. As everyone is still ramping up in power, Fudge is going to go back and spend some money. Revenge is going to scoop up that wave as a result. And I'll see how long it takes Immortals to actually kill the mid lane outer tower. Kind of tough here again, with no tower to fall back to, and C9 can kind of pull the trigger whenever Sion or somebody else like Rel is in the area. So IMT playing pretty slow here, as Insanity is going to get this wave reversed in due time, but certainly not rushing to push that wave out rapidly here. And C9 just kind of feel like they're encroaching more and more on IMT's territory. Vulcan and Perkz are grouping up to get that vision down. Again, everyone's just kind of scaling up and feeling comfy. Cloud9 not worried in the least at this stage of the game.
Just playing it slow, playing it steady. This is one of the slower games I can honestly remember from Cloud9, but I think it's due to the importance of the game, and it's also due to the nature of the compositions that they really want to make sure that they're not making any errors, that they're not forcing anything that they don't need to do. You know, they are the ones playing with the scaling advantage. They are the ones that I think have a much easier to execute comp come late game. So if Immortals aren't going to force anything, Cloud9 are happy to just play this PvE style where your both teams are just farming, pushing waves back and forth. Not much of an advantage is really being created on either side, but I think that is to Cloud9's advantage.
Perhaps something brewing here in the river, but I think both teams kind of know that like something could happen, so just throwing out what vision they have. Blabber and Revenge going to be doing battle, but Revenge is going to go to sleep, but already a good amount of damage done, and now they wake him up, and perhaps not what they wanted to do, because Revenge still pretty healthy. Did have to pop the Dominus though, but it is a trade of ultimates here, and with 3 minutes out for that Dragon and Baron, probably not getting taken. Great stun though, in they go, it's Insanity to set it up. So low, but not dead, and Nocturne could not find a vision to click on them. So now everyone from C9 is going to have to get up, but the hook lands in onto Perkz. Damage is good again from Insanity. And he still has his ulti. I guess couldn't use it. So Sven's going to get away there.
Yeah, Insanity not able to get the ult down onto Zven, who does survive. They push him back, though. They will get a little bit of priority on the map. And just a couple of nice hooks, honestly, from Destiny, setting them up there. We'll see if we get a replay of that and kind of find out exactly why he couldn't get his ultimate off. But should have been a kill if he was able to get in range of quite catch exactly what happened to him there, but Immortals looking for a little bit of an aggressive play. They do commit the Nocturne ultimate, but again, not really able to get too much from it besides the summoners.
And Sven back to full health, now farming waves once more. Going to be happy here in the side lane, getting all the CS and the XP, which is one of those things Tristanas do have to be a bit more cognizant of versus other AD carries. But again, Cloud9 is happy with the pace of the game if it continues here. IMT perhaps looking forward to that next Dragon in a minute 50. It is a pretty good soul as well. Infernal, not a bad one to play for if the game is going to be quite a bit slower. And again, that first Dragon was taken very late, like atypically late for games these days. 14.5 minutes if my brain is remembering correctly. So Cloud9 are playing for the late.
The Force is like a 38-minute soul. It's unlikely the game will really be about this. So this is the earlier play. The initial skirmish is really just kind of a trade of ultimates, but what I'm more interested in is seeing, you know, what happened with Insanity, if he was in range and used the ultimate, or exactly what play came from this. Destiny just had a really nice ward over the wall, does land it, and yeah, I think Insanity just wasn't in range, didn't actually want to flash over to fully commit to it. Might have been able to do so, but of course Shockwave was still available, so did land the combo over the wall, but just didn't have the range there to be able to follow through on that kill potentially over on Zven.
Yep, and Zeuxi did actually go in. Used his a very short ulti to go over the wall, but did clear the gap there, but not enough with the stride breaker there again. one of the few moments where perhaps you get the kill if you're lethality, but you probably die as well. Don't think that means the build was wrong at all. Just means that Xerxes needed some follow-up, and unfortunately over that wall, there was nothing there for IMT. So a good attempt. I like the setup here. They are going to have to get crafty just like that, as Destiny attempts a hook there in mid lane and is just shy of Perkz' face. But 25 seconds till the Dragon is up, and Cloud9 going to walk in with their 2-item Trist. My brain just died. Lilia and Orianna towards this Dragon and try and take it away.
Raze now hitting about 300 stacks, so a lot of bonus gold available.
Oh boy!
There's 2 gold per stack plus the 25 base, if I recall correctly. So that plus a potential kill is getting to be a lot of money. You're closing in on that 1,000 gold for a non-shutdown kill if Draven can get it, which is very significant in building towards what looks like an Essence Reaver third here for him. So interesting to see that he didn't decide to go towards the IE third. Generally, that's what people do with this LDR build, but Essence Reaver is also really, really popular with the Draven. Allows you to just non-stop spam out the W on every axe sketch. You just have the permanent move speed and attack speed as long as you're juggling correctly. And the Spell Blade is pretty effective there also for him. So not a bad build by any means, but just less common, I would say, than the IE third.
And I think we're going to have to, at some point, answer the question as Cloud9 do get the Infernal Drake and claim the second Drake of this game. Can they kill the Scion? I think that's going to be the big one here. Or can they find a pick or an angle for something else? Because Raze is probably going to have to chew through the front line to get to the back line. And that means going through Scion with Thornmail.
Yeah, I mean, it's just getting tougher and tougher, right? Because I do feel like the longer you wait, it just gets worse and worse. Your chances get lower and lower. And Immortals are starting to look for some plays, but I just wonder if they're playing too passive in the game. Of course, it could be egg on my face if they get a clean fight and get an ace. There are ways to win fights, of course, no matter what the composition is, but it is Vulcan with exhaust. It is an Orianna who can also shield up Fudge pretty easily. And Draven, I just think, has such a hard time to actually avoid and engage from Rel. If you flash RW, it feels almost unavoidable. It's so hard to actually react to and create enough distance. Sometimes even if you do flash, you're still caught by the R. So Fudge is going to be really, really difficult to deal with. Really, really tough, I think, for them. And Cloud9 now looking to take position around that Baron. Well, bot lane scraps, and Fudge just doesn't really lose a lot of health.
Nope. I think he's healing, actually. He's busy taking out the wave, but Revenge is doing what he can. Perkz 2 items done. It's going to be nice for the shields. He's probably looking to apply, but of course for his damage and shockwaves in general. There is a thresh, I guess, on the IMT side, which is I do like as a parent with the Draven to kind of give him a little bit of extra mobility that he wouldn't have otherwise. But I agree with you. I think if Rel finds the Draven, it doesn't matter. You're probably going to die anyway.
Yeah, you're probably shockwaved immediately off that. It can be pretty difficult from there. The AoE engage is very good if you get grouped up by the Rel ultimate for the shockwave, for a potential Lilia follow-up. That is a pretty nasty combo. They think they've caught Revenge here potentially, though.
Perkz gonna look for it, finds a shockwave, good flash though out of Revenge to get himself to safety. And Cloud9 don't have to commit too much, just 2 ultis. And get a flash there and keep IMT away from the tower that they're still trying to knock down in mid lane.
Yep, the farm continues. They force out a summoner there from Revenge, which is pretty big if they actually fight without that. Renekton without Flash has a lot harder of a time actually accessing the backline, especially one that has a lot of self-peel like Trist. Trist just with one rocket jump away or even a buster shot for self-peel is probably going to be the end of any sort of dive coming through from the Renekton. So Mortals will have to play around that, and we'll see if Cloud9 want to force anything at this next Dragon. I expect them to go for it. I expect Immortals probably to contest and not want to give up that 3rd Dragon over to Cloud9, and that would mean Revenge is fighting without a flash in what could be the most important fight.
Yeah, it was very satisfying watching the laning phase here for this Draven as Raze continues to dent the axes. 372 stacks. So getting even more here is, oh goodness, Blabber's about to put the dream to rest. W there, runs away, pops the heal, dodges the swirl seed, needs to keep dodging though because Blabber is done.
Well, that was an uneventful flash. I've got
it really was.
Well handled by Raze to not just panic and flash away or anything. Does use the stand aside, sidesteps this World Seed, using the heal as well for that move speed. Blabber just, I think, thought he would be able to close the gap really effectively since he did have the Predator pop, since he does have a lot of move speed on the Lilia, but couldn't quite do it. And now is going to be down a flash himself. Not a good trade as he did get out the heal, but that's obviously a lot less of a cooldown there. And Ray's still just kind of farming it up, looking to see if he can get a cash in. That would be massive for Immortal's chances in this game if he can get that cash in, complete an IE at a pretty quick pace here.
Yeah, just kind of want to see Raze hit any champion not named Sion. Very satisfying to watch the Axis fly towards some of the champions. We saw it in lane, like, Vulcan could never really step up just because every time he did, just to eat Axis to the face. And Rel, despite being relatively tanky, not tanky in that kind of situation. Destiny finding the only target he didn't want. It's Fudge as the rest of Cloud9 are moving towards this Dragon, which is up in 30 seconds.
Okay, well, Xerxes did go for the Sterek second, so definitely love the build. We'll see if he's going to be very effective with it. It's been such a passive game, which generally isn't a really good one for Nocturne. As I said earlier, you kind of want to be ulting on cooldown. You want to be able to be proactive, push the pace of the game, every time that ultimate is up. Looks like Immortal's trying to two-man this Baron here. We'll get spotted out by Fudge, so we'll see what the response is from Cloud9. I'd like them to just leave one member to solo that Dragon down, but it looks like Immortals are just actually committing to this Baron.
I mean, Ray's also getting a lot of stacks as a result. Baron low, but Xerxes, also too low. As Destiny, I think, trying to predict somebody moving forward for his jungler. But doesn't grab anybody. Xerxes is going to be a little bit healthier as time goes on. And Sven, as you said, is happy to take the Dragon.
I saw a shield on Xerxes. I'm not sure if that, his Sterix actually popped, which would be really bad, or if that was just a Thresh Lantern shield. But either way, they go for the attempt. I respect the attempt, but I think once it's warded out, you should have just backed off immediately, because with Xerxes taking that much damage, then you can't even compete around it. And it actually was his Sterix pop, which is a pretty big deal. That's a lot of your tankiness as a Nocturne on 2 items, so not having that is troublesome for them. They went back on the Baron as well again, and Destiny losing about half of his health there. So Immortals, I'm starting to smell a little bit of desperation from them in some of these plays around the Baron. I think they are realizing, hey guys, Orianna's kind of getting towards 3 items. Tristana's going to have an IE soon. Sion's invincible, and they're just looking to kind of hard force. But Cloud9 has eyes on them, and they can't really turn for the fight either. So kind of what are you doing here, guys? You can't just keep going back to the Baron and hitting it over and over.
I mean, look, Raze, he's got to find something to spin the axes on. Found the Baron. That was good enough as Insanity at least is going to take down the tower. I mean, no joke, you actually was getting some stacks at least, which is always fun, but Perk's just going to answer here for the trade. In bottom side, as both Mages will push down 3 towers apiece total now for either side, and Raze goes off to the other side of the map to spin axes on the red buff.
Well, I think at this point, with the pace of the game that we're getting, it's just going to be a fight at Seoul, 5v5 for all the marbles. And, if you lose that one as Immortals, it's pretty much game over. They've farmed for so long that everyone is going to be very much online. We'll see if Raze can get to an IE prior to that fight. The death cap's already completed for Perk, so he's going to be good to go. And Sven has completed his IE, so Cloud9 have gotten to play this game where it just farmed for 32 minutes, and their 2 kind of hyper-scaling carries here now are fully online with a massive front line of Sion as well as the Rel. They also have the Locket to help keep them alive from any sort of dive. They are playing with the exhaust, so I like the itemization more for them, and I think that they're really set up for success coming into this. It's going to take, I think, multi-pronged flank. It's going to take Renekton coming in from behind, a Nocturne ulting in, maybe some sort of a hook or something, because it just feels like you cannot attack Cloud9 front to back and have any hope of victory.
Yep, Fudge is continuing to build up armor. Gonna walk over to the top side of the map because he's got to deal with the minion waves up in that side. I'm curious to see how much gold Raze is going to collect. He's got plenty of time to get this IE. I have to imagine he's going to be able to finish it, given that I feel like I've just seen him farming for so long because there's just nothing else he's been really able to find, unfortunately. But again, 2 minutes to kind of get that fight going and start rolling the dice outside the Drake pit.
Yeah, we'll find out. It's kind of a bizarre game. It's very, very much not the kind of pace you expect from Cloud9. Now they're the ones who are going to serve this up, but Immortals should know. They did actually have vision around them by the pit before that pink ward was dropped, so they know that they're on it. They're at least trying to force out Revenge's teleport, and now I think Cloud9 will just turn. Oh, they're going to try to finish.
Finishing. Ooh, Xerxes going to get in there, perhaps. This could be real bad news. Baron goes over. Xerxes steals it, and Perkz is low. Ray's still alive, though. Now he's going to join the fight. Vulcan eats one axe, but Fudge is chasing off Insanity as Sven. He's going to leap in to try and get the kill. Sven is low. Ray's flashes in. He needs to get the kill, but he can't get it just yet. Still cutting it out. With the Lantern back over to the other side of the team fight. Ray's able to find the cash in, but now he's fighting the Sion 1v1 and gets punched in the face and shut down. But Xerxes has somehow found the double killers. Fudge is still chasing the rest of them. And just like, what can you do? Xerxes going to get chased. The fear is actually enough to get himself a little bit more distance. But now the Lantern is going to find Xerxes. Stride Breakers away, and Destiny Hex flashes over and is going to find Perkz. He's going to die. Perkz is going to finish off this kill. Perhaps it's Fudge, perhaps it's something else. But Xerxes is going to leave, so they'll at least keep one Baron buff. But Fudge, he collected like 2-ish kills in that fight.
What a fight. What, Cloud9, 34 minutes in, you just decided to coin flip the Baron here? I think they could have just turned and taken the fight earlier. Instead, they commit to it. Xerxes with the huge Baron steal goes in for it. And then Raze really going off in this fight, getting so much damage out. The stun was huge, though, in actually protecting Sven, as Raze was one auto away from killing him, but then really nice Lantern from Destiny comes across. Raze tries to land the stand aside to actually interrupt the charge up on the Sion Q, but it was already charged up enough that he got the stun, was able to finish him off. It's now the IE plus a crit cloak on top, though, for Raze, because he did cash out again before dying off, so he's massive. This Draven is legit huge at this point. Cloud9 will be playing for this sole point here, but we'll see. Do they turn, or they just flip it again? Because Xerxes does have the ability to try to ult into the pit and potentially steal.
All right, again, every target not named Sion, including this dragon, is good for Raze. Fudge will die eventually, but eventually it's probably going to be too long, as Cloud9 5v5 grouped up here against IMT. Xerxes once again over the side, but already with the blast going. If he needs to find an angle, Fudge going to get hooked up. They have to go through the front door, I guess. But Xerxes going to pop the ulti revenge, also trying to distract him. The dragon, that's what they want, but Blabber this time is going to get them the soul. But Raze is still alive, but that roll combo into the Orianna shockwave is going to give Cloud9 the fight. It's an ace, it's a dub, and it's first place for Cloud9.
5-0, Cloud9 get their fight here, wiping Immortals off the map. They only needed one team fight. And 36 minutes in, they get the soul up the smite from Blabber. They get the combo with Orianna and Rell, and they will get first place in the spring split.
Only one team fight needed. Don't worry about the Baron steal. We'll just scrub that from our minds, as Cloud9 do indeed have enough firepower to claim the Nexus and first place.
Big win for them. Probably took them a bit longer than they were expecting coming into it, but it was a well-controlled game overall there from Cloud9. Scaling to the late game, they had the 5v5. They're going to be the first seed going into the mid-season showdown there. Upper bracket secured, first place secured, and they can breathe a sigh of relief after the last couple weeks where they started dropping some games and things really did get close. The final game here to actually secure first place.
It's funny because, like, you said that it was obviously so much slower than we used to Cloud9 playing, but I think I did expect Cloud9 to play that slow. I kind of expected it to reverse, though, where Immortals will play Cloud9 speed and Cloud9 would play, like, much slower speed than certainly we haven't seen. So I get why they played that way, just wanted to be safe and ice out the game, but IMT just couldn't find a way in to really challenge Cloud9, unfortunately. Apart from that great steal from Xerxes, as Immortals do finish off their season in a little bit of style. We're going to be stepping away, but after the break, it's going to be Dash talking with Vulcan in our Verizon post-game interview.